Do you know what day it is? Well, it's haircut day. That's one thing, but it's hump day! Mike. I don't have to be quiet today because T's not here. Still taking care of her dad. Good morning and happy Wednesday. So we're talking about our original stages. Know your outcome, take massive action, and then what is step number 3? What is step number 3? Have sensory acuity. Are you getting closer to your result or are you getting further away? What's the definition of insanity, guys? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. How many have started a diet on a Monday? How many have started a diet every Monday for the last year? How many have started a diet on a Monday, every Monday for the last 3 years? How many have said, once I get this bill paid, I'm going to start saving money? Once I do this, then I'm going to do that. How many of you have done all those things? Me included. I've done that too. You have to change your approach. If what you're doing is not producing the result, you got to try something different. You have to do another avenue in order to get what you're looking for. Stop doing what you're doing if it's not getting you closer to your goal. One of the things that I've noticed from being around successful people, financially anyways, but I think successful in every way, they're great at eliminating what doesn't work. I have a buddy that was a very successful businessman. He sold his businesses last year. And he started with absolutely nothing. He's one of those guys that started in a garage, no education, no money, no nothing. And he built a mini empire. He really did. And one of the things that he was able to do when I would work for him is, as soon as he found something that would work, he literally would hit a button on his phone. And Domingo, good morning. It is great to see you. It is so cool that you and I have reconnected. He would literally hit a button on his phone and immediately stop everybody from anything that they were doing, and they would do this one thing that was making that result. It didn't matter how much he was in the middle of something. It didn't matter what it cost to walk away from these other ideas. He was fantastic at saying, this is working, so this is what we're going to do, and nothing else. And I think that's very difficult to do, especially for us in the Midwest. For us in the Midwest, you know, we do everything from left to right? We do everything in a pattern, and we follow the rules. And that's why we're so productive in the Midwest. I mean, you know, Silicon Valley, when Silicon Valley is hot, when they see an applicant from Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Wisconsin, Ohio, they don't even interview them, they just hire them. Because they know that they're going to have that work ethic, that Midwest work ethic. And we all have that. We all get up early, we work late, you know, we take pride in it. But we move from left to right. I mean, we start at the beginning and we finish at the end. Even if what we're doing is not getting us closer to our goal, we say, well, when I finish this, then I'll do the next thing. And you gotta, if you are not getting closer to your goal, if what you're working isn't getting you results, then you've got to abandon it and try something different. So the number one thing that you got to do once you take massive action is you have to start keeping score. Now, obviously you can't turn the Queen Mary on a dime. Obviously you have to give things time to see whether or not you're getting closer to your target or further away. But after a reasonable amount of time, if it's not working, then you got to do something different. Now, what do we all do? And we're going to talk about this tomorrow too, because we all do this. We keep doing the same thing thinking that it's going to work. And if it hasn't worked in the past, it's not going to work in the future. And if we're talking about a diet, why is it that the diet didn't work? The diet didn't work because you didn't work the system. That's why it didn't work. Every diet will work. It's just a matter of you doing it. So if it didn't work, it's because it didn't work for you at that time. So whatever it is that you're doing, we got to start keeping score. So when was the last time you sat down and took a look to see whether or not you are actually getting closer to your goals? When's the last time you weighed in? When's the last time you did a personal balance sheet? When's the last time you did a checkup from the neck up? When's the last time you did the wheel that we did one day? And if you don't know what that is, DM me or whatever, and I'll send you a copy of that. I've also got I think I got a video somewhere of how to do it. When's the last time you sat down and kept score? Because here's one of the realities that happens to us. I told you that a lot of times, like with my clients, I might only see them maybe once a month. It depends on, obviously now with coronavirus, it's even less. But somebody gets badly injured in a wreck, I might not see them for a month or a month and a half. And invariably, when we start out, a lot of time, if they're alive, because about half my clients are not alive, they get killed in the wrecks. But if they're alive, when we start out, they're typically in a hospital. And then they end up home, and so I usually see them in the hospital or see them at home. And then there's always this moment where I call them up and I'm like, hey, we should talk. I should see you. When do you want me to come over? And they'll say, well, I'll come down to the office. And I always know that that's a big turning point, because all of a sudden that means they're ready to leave the house and make their way down to my office. And they'll come in and I'll say, wow, you've made amazing improvements. And they'll always say the same thing. They'll say, really, it doesn't feel like I'm getting anywhere. Well, they see themselves every day, and so they don't see the improvement, when in fact they've made massive improvements. So one of the things that you got to do is you got to keep score. When's the last time you did a personal financial statement? When's the last time you actually did a full balance sheet just for yourself, a full balance sheet where you listed all of your assets and all of your debts? When's the last time you did one? Well, if you haven't done one, then now's the time. Sit down today and put together a full balance sheet and see, where are you? What are all your assets? What are all your debts? And what is your net worth? And at the same time, we talked about write down what your basic minimum bills are so that you know how to get to that financial independence mark. Good time to do that also. When's the last time you did an assessment of your relationship with your kids? Sit down and have a conversation with them, especially if they're a little bit older. How are we doing? Let's take stock in this. How are we doing? How am I doing? How's our relationship? Am I communicating in a reasonable way to you? Do you feel like we're connected? Do I bother you too much? Am I not involved enough in your life? When's the last time you took stock in your relationship with your grandkids? When's the last time you took stock in your marriage? When's the last time you sat down and really said, hey, where are we? Where are we in this relationship? How are we doing? You have to keep score in order to know whether or not you're getting closer to your results and further away. And my hallucination is, with those of us from the Midwest in particular, many times we're not giving ourselves enough credit. Many times we're like my clients in that we don't think that we're making progress, but when we sit down and actually check off the boxes, we really are making progress. And if it's regard to your weight, because sometimes we're not making progress there, then if you get on this, that's one of those situations where you have to face it. If you've got an area where you're really not doing well, like maybe it's credit card debt, or maybe it's your weight, those areas, you've got to face the music. If those areas are really bad, what you need to do is face it. Because by not facing it, you're making it worse than it really is most of the time. So if you haven't got on the scale forever because you're worried about what it's going to say, today's the day. Get on the scale and face it. And then start keeping track. Say, okay, massive opportunity for improvement. Here we go. With regards to the credit cards, if you're one of those that's sitting there and you've got, $80,000 in credit card debt. Okay, so write it all down. Write it all down. And write down how much money it's costing you in interest. Write down how much the minimum payments are. Write it all down. Because once you face it, then you're like, okay, now, again, how do we eat that elephant? One bite at a time. You just start and take little steps. And one of the great things about that with credit cards, because I've had to do that too back when the world fell apart for me 9 years ago, is I looked at the interest payment and I said to myself, think of how much money I'm going to save when I'm not paying this interest. If you want a sports car, there's your sports car. I mean, if you want a fancy watch, if you want a trip, what you're not paying those interest payments to somebody else, that's a massive raise for you. And that's how I looked at it. I was like, boy, look at the raise I'm going to have when this is all done. So you got to keep score as you're moving along. Do your personal financial statement. Check in with all of your relationships. If you have employees, check in with them. Keep track of how you're doing and how things are going, and then start to work from there. Am I getting closer to my goals or am I getting further away? You got to give your system, whatever your system is, a reasonable opportunity to have success. But if it's not working, abandon it and find something else. And remember, what's the best way to find a system that's going to work? Don't reinvent the wheel. Find somebody that has done what you want to do and do what they want to do. Find somebody that has created the same result, figure out how they did it, and then sow the same seeds. If you sow the same seeds, you're going to reap the same rewards. I had a phone conversation yesterday with somebody regarding somebody else, so it wasn't a client situation, but it's somebody now in their 80s and now their health is starting to fail, and so they're facing those decisions and of what do we do, where do we go, and they don't have any finances. They have no financial options, which means they don't have any options. Now, these people were full-time employed their entire life. They had plenty of opportunity. People don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. I mean, think about that. If you're in your 80s right now, if you started investing $10 a week in your first paycheck in your 20s, and all you did was put that into an S&P 500 index fund, how much money do you think you'd be sitting on $10 a week? So that's just, you got to take your little steps every day. So for today, let's keep score. Let's remember to write down where it is that we're at, figure out where we're at and keep score, and commit to yourself that every day you're going to just improve on that, even if it's just the smallest amount. Because again, over time, that creates massive change. One of our Tony Robbins isms is CANI, constant and never-ending improvement. That every day we're going to do it a little bit better than we did the day before in every area of our lives. Every day we're going to make just a tiny shift in that improvement, a new distinction. With every failure, we don't have failure, we have learning. And we have a new distinction so that we're even smarter the next time that we move forward. So commit to yourself today that you're going to keep score, and every day you're going to figure out and learn a new lesson, and you're going to take a step into a new direction and go even better than you were the day before. Imagine where life is going to take us. You want to look back at the end and say, I did it all, right? You want to look back at the end and say, I did everything that I could. What's success on a basketball court or on any type of sporting event? Success is that you gave it your all. Success is that you left it all out on the court, you left it all out on the field. Well, let's do that with life. Let's leave it all out there. Let's put everything we got into what we're doing, so at the end of it, we can say, I did it all. We're all in this together, everybody. Let's take care of each other. Have a great day. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll see you tomorrow.